Thank you and welcome back to our CISSP 2024 CERT preparation class. I am Cio Rodriguez. We are going to continue where we left off in the previous presentation. In this occasion, we will talk about risk assessment and analysis. Now, before we start discussing the concept of risk assessment and analysis, it is important to understand what is risk. If you ask 100 cybersecurity professionals what is risk, you may get a lot of different answers. So let's make sure that we put this into context. Understanding risk is a balancing act. So risk is the potential for loss or harm resulting from a negative event. It's a combination of the likelihood or possibility of an event occurring and the impact or severity of that event. For example, a data breach, that would be the event, could result in financial loss. That would be the impact to the organization if customer data is compromised. The likelihood of this event might be considered moderate due to existing security measures. So overall, the data breach poses a moderate risk. Okay. Now, obviously, this is not written in stone. For depending on the company, this may have another impact or another score, if you want to call it. Okay. So risk assessment and analysis, quantifying the threat. Following the threat and vulnerability identification, risk assessment and analysis delve deeper to understand the severity of potential security issues. And here's how this critical step works. Risk assessment, the process of estimating the likelihood and potential impact of identified risks. Imagine it as a two-dimensional matrix where one axis represents the likelihood, which could be high, medium, or low, and the other represents the impact, high, medium, or low as well. Each risk is plotted on this matrix based on its perceived severity. What are some of the techniques that we might use? Basically, there are two. Qualitative analysis, which is a judgment-based approach that considers factors like the likelihood of a threat, exploiting a vulnerability, and the potential consequences. Assigning risk levels such as high, medium, or low to likelihood and impact helps prioritize risks. Quantitative analysis is a more data-driven approach that assigns numerical values to likelihood and impact. This allows for more precise risk scoring and facilitates cost-benefit analysis of potential countermeasures. This method may not always be feasible due to lack of precise data. Impact considerations. When evaluating the impact of a risk, consider factors like financial loss, the potential cost of a security incident, data breaches, system downtime, reputational damage, the negative impact on brand image and customer trust, regulatory compliance issues, potential fines or legal repercussions for violating data privacy regulations, or operational disruption, business interruptions caused by security incidents. Risk prioritization. Based on the risk assessment, prioritize risks based on their severity. High likelihood, high impact risks require immediate attention and implementation of a strong countermeasures. Lower risk issues can be addressed based on available resources. Benefits of risk assessment and analysis. 1. Informed decision making. It provides a data-driven approach to allocating security resources for the most critical risks. 2. Improved resource allocation. Helps prioritize security spending on controls that will deliver the most significant improvement in the organization's security posture. 3. Communication and awareness. Risk assessments facilitate communication of security risks to stakeholders, fostering a culture of security awareness. By effectively conducting risk assessment and analysis, you can move beyond simply identifying threats and vulnerabilities. This step allows you to quantify their potential impact and make informed decisions about how to address them, ultimately optimizing your information security strategy. Examples of qualitative analysis. 1. Phishing email attack. The likelihood may be medium. Phishing emails are a common attack method, but success depends on various factors like email content and user awareness. Impact, median. If a user clicks a malicious link or attachment in a phishing email, it could lead to malware infection, data breaches, or compromised accounts. But there are many technologies nowadays that actually stop either the malicious link or the attachment. So that could be actually be stopped. Qualitative analysis. This phishing scenario represents a medium risk due to the balanced likelihood and potential impact. Security awareness training and email filtering can help mitigate this risk. Example number 2, unsecure Wi-Fi network. Likelihood, high. Many public Wi-Fi networks are unsecured, making them easy targets for attackers to eavesdrop on data transmissions. Impact, high. If sensitive data, that is login credentials, financial information, etc., is transmitted over an unsecure Wi-Fi network, it could be intercepted by attackers, leading to identity theft or financial losses. Qualitative analysis. Unsecure Wi-Fi poses a high risk due to the ease of exploitation and potentially severe consequences. Using a VPN or virtual private network, while on a public Wi-Fi, can significantly reduce this risk. Example 3, insider threat. Likelihood, difficult to assess. Insider threats are challenging to predict as they can originate from disgruntled employees, accidental mistakes, or negligence. Impact, high. Insider threats can be highly damaging as they often involve authorized access and knowledge of internal systems. Data breaches, sabotage, and financial fraud are potential consequences. Qualitative analysis. Insider threats pose a significant risk due to the potentially high impact. Implementing strong access controls, monitoring user activity, and fostering a culture of security awareness can help mitigate this risk. However, due to the difficulty of predicting insider behavior, a fully qualitative approach may have limitations. Examples of quantitative analysis. While qualitative analysis uses judgment and descriptive terms such as high, medium, or low for likelihood and impact, quantitative analysis attempts to assign numerical values to these factors. However, it's important to acknowledge that obtaining precise data for security risks can be challenging. Here are three examples of quantitative analysis with the understanding that estimations and assumptions might be involved. One, data breach due to web server vulnerability. Likelihood, based on historical data and industry reports, the likelihood of a web server vulnerability being exploited within a year might be estimated as 20%. Impact, the potential cost of a data breach, considering data recovery, regulatory fines, and reputational damage, might be estimated at $5 million. Quantitative analysis, we can calculate a potential annualized loss expectancy, or ALE, by multiplying the likelihood by the impact. So ALE equals likelihood times impact. In this case, 20% or 0.2 times the 5 million equals 1 million. This ALE value helps compare this risk to others and prioritize resource allocation for security controls that address this web server vulnerability. Number two, denial of service or DOS attack causing downtime. Likelihood, based on past attack logs and industry trends, the likelihood of a DOS attack occurring in a month might be estimated as 5%. Impact, the potential cost of downtime due to a DOS attack, considering lost revenue and productivity, might be estimated at 100,000 per hour. Quantitative analysis. To calculate the monthly ALE, we consider the average downtime duration from past DOS attacks, for example, 2 hours. Monthly ALE equals the likelihood times the impact time downtime, which in this case is 0.05 times 100,000 per hour times 2 hours, which equals 10,000. This helps assess the cost effectiveness of potential countermeasures against DOS attacks. It is important to note that assigning precise values for likelihood and impact can be challenging. These examples illustrate the concept, but real-world scenarios might require estimations based on available data and expert judgment. Example 3, password spraying attack on Active Directory. Likelihood, based on threat intelligence reports, the likelihood of a password spraying attempt against Active Directory in a week might be estimated at 10%. Impact, the impact of a successful password spraying attack is difficult to quantify as it depends on the compromised account's privileges and access. However, we can estimate the average cost of password resets and investigation per compromised account at $100,000. Quantitative analysis. Here we can calculate a weekly expected loss, or EL, by multiplying the likelihood by the impact per compromised account. So EL equals likelihood times impact, which in this case is 0.1 times 1,000 per account, which equals 100 per account. If we estimate an average of 10 targeted accounts per week, that is based on historical data, the total weekly, or EL, would be 100 times 10, which is 1,000. This can help assess the value of implementing a stronger password policies and multi-factor authentication to mitigate this risk. Risk response. So now that we have discussed the risk analysis and understanding risk. How are we going to manage those risks? Okay? How are we going to address this risk response? Okay. So risk assessment and analysis provide valuable insights into the potential consequences of security threats and vulnerabilities. But effective risk management doesn't stop there. The next crucial step involves risk response, which entails the developing strategies to address these identified risks. And here's a breakdown of key approaches. There are generally four approaches. One, avoidance. The most proactive approach involves eliminating the risk altogether. This might involve discontinuing a risky business practice or not using a particular technology, which is, of course, is not always feasible. Two, mitigation. Reduce the likelihood or impact of a risk. Implement security controls like firewalls, intrusion detection systems, or security awareness training to lessen the risk severity. Three, transfer. Shift the risk to a third party through insurance or outsourcing certain functions. This doesn't eliminate the risk, but transfer the financial burden of potential incidents. And four, acceptance. Decide to live with the risk of the cost of mitigation outweighs the potential impact. This approach is often used for low likelihood, low impact risks. So this accepted risk is called the residual risk, which is the risk that it's still present after you have applied countermeasures and security controls. So really important to understand that residual risk, the final risk, is the risk that is accepted. And obviously, this is a responsibility of top management. Selecting the right response. The most appropriate risk response strategy depends on several factors. One, severity of the risk. High impact risk warrant a more aggressive response, which is avoidance or mitigation compared to low impact risks. Two, cost of controls. The cost of implementing controls needs to be weighted against the potential losses from the risk. Three, legal and regulatory requirements. Compliance regulations might dictate specific controls or limitations on risk acceptance. Four, organizational risk tolerance. Some organizations might have a higher tolerance for risk than others. Risk response strategies are often a combination of these approaches. For example, you might mitigate a web server vulnerability with firewalls and patching, while also having insurance to transfer some of the financial risk in case of a breach. Benefits of effective risk response. One, reduced losses. Proactive risk management helps minimize potential losses from security incidents. Two, improved security posture. Implementing controls strengthens your overall security posture and makes it more difficult for attackers to succeed. Three, informed decision making. Understanding risks allows for informed decisions about resource allocation for security measures. And four, enhanced business continuity. By addressing risks, you ensure your business operations are less susceptible to disruptions caused by security incidents. By carefully considering risk response options, you can develop a comprehensive strategy to address identified threats and vulnerability. This proactive approach safeguards your organization's critical assets and minimizes the potential impact of security incidents. And that is the end for this presentation. In the next lesson, we will cover countermeasure selections and implementation. See you then.